Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Love the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. Get yourselves to their event on the 5th of July. If you're a growing business and you want some hints and tips about how you can help progress your business and come up with a 90-day plan. In fact, I know that I have got a little reminder of that event that's coming up, the Growth Club. So that will be at Bramall Lane, beautiful downtown Bramall Lane on the 5th of July. Come and join us and you'll be very welcome. I had a fantastic time when I went to the event in April, which is why I'm going back. And I think it's pushed us on. Well, just look at where we are now. And a large part of this is down to Action Coach Sheffield. Another huge part of it is down to the Ramblers, particularly those that have joined through our Patreon and continue to support the channel. Thank you to everybody that contributes to the channel. And this is all an actual studio that I still can't get my head around. Is all down to your support. So thank you, everybody. That also includes another one of our sponsors. And I'm going to play their little vid again because this has gone down really well with some Ramblers. I know some Ramblers who've got some great deals from V&B Autos. So here you go. Check out V&B Auto Centre in Handsworth, where your vehicle's needs come first. Located at Unit 32, Orgreave Close in Sheffield, they offer same-day tyre fitting and MOTs while you wait, as well as comprehensive vehicle servicing. Relax in the comfortable reception area with free Wi-Fi and drinks, or maybe you fancy their free local collect and deliver service. Book now at vnbautocentres.co.uk or call 0114 322 446. And now they're offering 10% services off for Ramblers on tyres, servicing and MOTs. Just mention the word Ramble when you book and check the link in the description. Visit V&B Auto Centre today for quality care and transparent prices. Spot on. Thank you to them for their continuing the support of V&B Autos and giving us that discount for Ramblers as well. That's absolutely brilliant. A mutually successful partnership, it has to be said. So thank you very much for your support. If any other sponsors want to get involved with the Ramble, you know where we are, bladesramble@gmail.com. So we're here today after the look. I love talking about transfers, as you know, as those of you that have been here for a while will understand. I love talking about what could happen. I think it's really exciting to speculate on who could come in, who are we going to sign. We've done a goalkeeper video that were really well received, and what we were looking at with goalkeepers was we did 5 free targets. We did 5 realistic targets and we did 5 ideal targets. And at the end, when we've done all the videos, we'll put our teams together of top 3 targets, top realistic targets, and top ideal targets. This one's slightly different, same premise, but we're going to go, and what I was going to say was, I meant to come out with much more these in a much more regular fashion. Rather, I think it's been 2 weeks since we did the goalkeeper one, but there's so much going off at the club, and we will get onto that today because I'm sure that in a lot of the comments it'll be takeover talk again. And I don't mean to lead anybody down the garden path with. I didn't want to put takeover in the title just in case people got the wrong end of the stick. So there's all sorts of rumours about certain players, some of which might be mentioned in this video in terms of before we even get to that subject. So with defence, and I've sort of done an all-encapsulating defence video this time. This is what this Ramble is going to be based on, rather than right centre-back 5-5-5, centre-back 5-5-5. I don't think there's much anticipation for, you know, a right wing-back video per se. So I think capturing them all the defence in one video just seemed to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with our 3-5-2 formation, if you like, and I'm going to give you 3 for each position. So for right wing back, which is where we'll start, we'll have a free option, a realistic option, and an ideal option. And I want you guys to let me know what you think of my suggestions, and these are players not from any foreign leagues or anything like that, because my knowledge ain't great on foreign leagues anymore, unfortunately. These are players that I've seen myself, that I like the look of. They're not like the ultimate target that I would get if I had all the time in the world to go out and scour for talent. But these are good shouts, I think, solid shouts. Let me know if you agree. So, who's first up? We're going to do right wing backs first. And I have to say, of all the positions that we've got, I think this is our strongest. I don't think we're strong there. We've got Jayden Bogle. And in fact, we'll be able to tell if that's actually the true position. Yeah, so here this is our planning video where we worked out our squad strength. So in terms of defence, I've actually got the centre-back, middle centre-back as equally as strong as right wing-back. But right wing-back for me, with Jayden Bogle, definitely playing there. The reason it's a 6 in the middle is because John Egan, whose future is currently up in the air, I've put him in the side. So if John Egan's not here, that's certainly nowhere near a 6. So I think this is guaranteed the strongest position we've got, with Jayden Bogle and Sam Curtis as his understudy, if you like. We've also got depth there, not necessarily in terms of proven quality, but there's Sai Sachdev there, there's Femi Siriki there. So it's the position in the defence that I'm least concerned about. But there are some strong options, I think. And the first one I've gone with is Cody Drameh at Leeds. So I say he's at Leeds. They clearly don't want him. He's 22 years old. I've kept the heights on because I think for defence it's worth considering. And that may play into your thoughts somewhat. But he played 28 games last season on loan at Birmingham. You've got to remember they went down, but this is a free signing of a 22-year-old. He's not necessarily going to be a starter. But before that, he played 19 games in the Championship for Luton. And the season before that, he played 22 games in the Championship for Cardiff. So he's been a fairly regular Championship player at such a young age. And as understudy to Jayden Bogle, I think that would be a really sound option for a free transfer. But let me know if you agree or not. The next option at right wing back is a realistic target, I believe. And that is Kijana Hoover. I've probably not pronounced that right. I've probably butchered it, to be fair. But this is the right wing back that his substantive club is Wolves, but he's pretty much spent the last 2 years on loan at Stoke. He played 44 games for him last season, 61 games in total, 8 goals from right wing back. Very much in a similar mould to Jayden Bogle. I believe we can get him on loan or a loan to buy for around 5 million quid, because at that sort of age, particularly if they perform well in the Championship, they're not going to come cheap. But I don't think that's a bad deal either to consider. But again, it's not just about what I think. You let me know. Now, this next one is a bit of a punt, really. And you could go several different directions with this. In terms of an ideal signing, I don't know, in all honesty, how realistic it is. But you've got to remember, we're a big club in the Championship, and I think it's an attractive move for him temporarily. I've gone for Conor Bradley at Liverpool, 20 years old, 5'9". He played 11 Premier League games last season. There is absolutely zero chance of getting him on any sort of loan to buy deal. Playing 11 games in the Prem for Liverpool, they obviously see, or Klopp certainly saw, and they're going to have a new manager. Klopp certainly saw something in him. But that would be my pick if we got an ideal choice, because he looked really well whenever I saw him in a Liverpool shirt last season. Whether they would be happy to let him out is a completely different conversation. But we'll see. So let me know what you think about my right wing back choices. We're going to move on now to right centre back. And there's been a bit of a red herring thrown in to the thumbnail. And in all honesty, like I've been saying, I'd planned to do this video a lot sooner than I'm actually doing it. So I originally came up with a list. And before finalising it, I had Paddy McNair in there. And I was convinced we were going to sign Paddy McNair at one stage, because it's a Chris Wilder signing. He's played for him before, can play multiple positions. Not the same type of player as Bash per se, but plays in the same sort of roles that Bash did, where he could fill in, particularly at right centre-back, but he could also do a job like as a holding midfielder, like we use Basham sometimes. I thought Paddy McNair, as a experienced Championship defender, decent pedigree, older head, bit of a leader. I think he's captained Borough previously. I thought he were a layup. But recently, there has been some chat in our Ramblers chat, and I understand it. And there's been some talk in local news outlets that we are in for Gab Osho at Luton. And I described this in the chat as a bit meh. And I think that's what the kids say in terms of not interesting, particularly. It's an okay signing. I didn't realise he'd actually played 21 games for Luton last season. I do remember Cameron Archer putting him on his backside to score against Luton. So he still doesn't blow me away. But you've got to think, in terms of our squad build, which is what it's about, he's a free transfer. He's still fairly young at 25. And he's coming in to strengthen our squad, our championship squad. So I think he's probably edges out, I think, a 29-year-old Paddy McNair, but I wouldn't be upset with either signing, to be fair. I also wouldn't be blown away with either signing. I just think they're pretty solid pickups, okay pickups in terms of Osho, but he does edge things out, and I think we can justify why we're picking him. I still don't think he's brilliant, but I think it's a very sensible signing if you look to do it. The realistic signing at right centre-back, Conor Cody. And some will push back on this, and I understand why. His reputation has deteriorated somewhat over the last couple of years. There's a reason sometimes that players like Wolves let him go when he was their captain. Then Leicester got him in the Championship, and he only played, looking at that, 12 Championship games, which surprised me, really. I knew he'd sort of not been involved super regularly, but I didn't realise he'd only played 12 games. I just think in what's going to be a fairly young squad, we're trying to bring players on. We want characters. We want leaders. I think to take someone on loan like Conor Cody would be a real sort of sensible move for us. I can't see many downsides other than the size of his wage. But if we got a similar deal to that we got with Mason Holgate last season, Everton Leicester are willing to cover some of his wages, then maybe it's a goer. Moving on to the ideal right centre-back for Sheffield United. Ronnie Edwards. He's been mentioned previously. I think we mentioned him in our previous transfer window. It might have even been last summer. He's a regular. He's not somebody that I've just plucked out of thin air. People know about Ronnie Edwards now. I think about a year ago, Crystal Palace were linked with him. So there has been interest. 5'9" is short for a centre half. There's no other way to put it. 47 League One games last season with the obviously missed a couple in the league, I believe, but he played in both legs of the playoff semis for Peterborough. I think we could get him away for about £6 million. I think it's doable. It'll obviously depend on the takeover, but I think we need to, if we're rebuilding a squad, 21-year-old, I think he's been capped at like England under 20s. This kid is going to be some footballer, and let's get him before his value increases. And if we're going to continue a sustainable model, is it worth dropping £5 or £6 million now to sell him on from the Championship for probably 10 plus? I still think it's a sound investment. So he's my ideal right centre-back option. So my ideal choices so far are Conor Bradley on loan and Ronnie Edwards permanent, which seems a stretch, but we're going through a takeover, aren't we, potentially? Now into the centre of defence. Obviously, there's a little bit of talk as to whether Egan's going to re-sign now. I'm still of the impression that we've got a year's option on Egan. I may be wrong on this. I don't claim to know everything, but I think we've got an option to extend John Egan if we choose to. The free option I'm going to go with at centre-half is Cedric Kipre, 27 years old, 6'5". The man is a monster. He's an absolute beast at the back. And I'm not saying he would be our starter, but again, we're talking about a free transfer where you're building a Championship squad. He played 46 times for West Brom last season in a very decent Carlos Corberán team. He also played 43 games the season before when on loan at Cardiff. So he's a regular Championship starter. I think he's a solid addition to the back line on a free transfer. 27, still young enough to get up and down, but be athletic enough along the back line, but also a little bit older, a little bit more wise. You'd think you're a bit of a mature head at the back. I don't think that's a pick up at all on a free centre back. But let me know what you think. My realistic middle centre back option, middle of the three, is Nathan Wood. Nathan Wood at Swansea, 22 years old, 6'2", bigger than I thought he was actually. 26 championship games last season. I think that's because he had a bit of an injury. He's got 1 year left on his deal, which is why I think we can get him away for as little as £3 million. And I think with all the hype around him, because he is a known quantity in the league, 22-year-old, he's another one that's only going to grow in value, particularly with his contract situation. A really steady, athletic, clever defender. I think it's a no-brainer to have him on the list. Now, my ideal signing, you could also say is a realistic signing, but I think it's only realistic if the takeover goes through. My ideal signing will come as no surprise to anybody because he's mentioned in all my transfer videos, and my dad's mentioned him too. And he's been mentioned locally, Joe Worrell. So there is a lot of talk at the minute about Joe Worrell being in talks with Sheffield United. 27 years old, 6'3", played 7 times in the Premier League last season, 9 times in the Super League because he went on loan to Besiktas, where they had an option to make it permanent and they didn't. And there's an interest, that's an interesting twist. Why did they still played him 9 times? So why did they not want to make it permanent? Is it a wage thing? It could be anything, couldn't it, really? £4 million is the figure that's being talked about. I've seen a lot on Twitter today and, in previous days that he's on Des Taylor's list, if you like. That's what people are saying, that there's 2 lists currently. I'm not one to confirm or deny, but that would make sense. We've been talking about it, haven't we? There being 2 regimes. Alan Nixon has reported and speculated on that. Obviously, Joe Worrell will be going for a fee, so you'd think that would come with the new regime and Des Taylor's list. So I think that's fair to speculate that he's a player that we'd like. Darren Smith's even mentioned him by name, him and Lewis O'Brien, as players that Darren thinks, independent of the club, would be great additions to us if we could get a deal done. So watch this space. There might be some more news to come on Joe Worrell, but I think he's an ideal signing for us in that middle of the 3. And does that mean it's instead of John Egan? Again, one to think about. Moving over then to the left centre-back position. A lot of you will believe this is Jack Robinson's position. How dare we even contemplate bringing somebody in? Well, we're doing it for every position. It's nothing to do with Jackie Longthrow. We've also got Austin Trusty here. So you could say that this is probably our strongest position overall, Brad. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. The free option is a bit of a punt again, really, but I've gone for solid rather than spectacular, and I've gone for Paul Dummett at Newcastle, predominantly a left-back in his career. He's 32 now, but a solid professional. He only played 5 times last year, and that is a sort of concern for me in terms of him not being a regular player, but consummate professional. Reminds me a little bit of when we signed Kieran Clark in the Championship, and I know he had his fitness issues, but a real high caliber defender for the Championship. And I just think he'd be a steady signing in terms of another leader, somebody who's been there, done it, played at the Premier League for the majority of his career. And I don't think Paul Dummett's a bad signing at all. I think it's a sensible approach, if I'm honest. In a similar vein, my realistic target is also a free. And there's sort of method to my madness with this one. It's Charlie Taylor at Burnley. 30 years old, 5'8", 28 Premier League games. Oh, let me just check something, actually. I need to just double check something before I carry on. Is this where I put the music over the top? Because I just want to make sure we're doing everything we need to do. Let me check. This is the thing you see when you're flying solo, that you're the only one to check things. And while you're live, it's not always the best way to do it. But anyway, we've done it. We've sorted it. So, Charlie Taylor, 5'8", again, shorter than I thought he was. 28 Premier League appearances last season, though, for Burnley. 28. I don't think that's bad. And the method to me madness is, not only do I think he's a solid pickup, particularly for the Championship, that can play left centre-back, has played left wing-back before as well. He also played 220 games since 2017 for Burnley. He weakens Burnley by us taking him, I think. And that, they're obviously going to be a Championship rival, probably a promotion rival. I think that's a smart move. But you let me know what you think. Is Charlie Taylor a realistic signing at left centre-back for us? And the ideal signing will come as no surprise. I don't know whether this is attainable, to be honest, unless we throw a fair bit of money at him. Cash in at Derby. It'll be no surprise because I've mentioned him before. As of a lot of people now, 22 years old, signed a new contract last season with Derby. That might be so that they can get some money out of him. Who knows? 44 League One games, was in the League One team of the season this year. And yeah, I think we're going to have to pay upwards of £6 million to get him out of Derby, if I'm honest. There were rumours earlier, a couple of weeks ago, that he were going to go to Forest for £5.5 million and then be loaned to Sheffield United. That proved to be nothing, but I don't think we'll be far off with that price point. Let me know what you think about cash in. I think it's a really interesting part of the conversation. Again, left wing back, Sam McCallum on a free. We've been linked to Sam McCallum on more than one occasion now, and it's been going on for the last 3 or 4 weeks. He was supposed to sign for Stoke City because that was heavily rumoured that's what had happened. But are Sheffield United involved in this? Is that a reason he hasn't gone anywhere yet? I've had a little bit of a look at him because his name's been circulated widely with the Blades. 29 Championship games last season. 23-year-old. Norwich did very well last year, and he's free. Again, building a Championship squad with a strong free transfer, young, Championship caliber player. It doesn't blow me socks off, but it's solid. So I don't mind it. And I think it's a sensible option for Sheffield United going forward. A realistic option. And this may cause some controversy, this. But think about Ryan Giles last season, and I don't think we'll get Ryan Giles, by the way. I've even been asked in our chat tonight, do you think Giles is or he asked a few people, do you think Ryan Giles is a fair shout? Or is he even possibly a target? He plays for Luton. Luton's his club. They're not going to do business with us unless we pay over the odds, personally. That's just my opinion. I think this signing is in a similar mould where they signed him last season, and it's Ryan Manning. Ryan Manning, 28 years old. Russell Martin signed him from Swansea, where he came from. 40 Championship games. He just strikes me as a player that they may not have a lot of confidence in at Premier League level and I don't know why I think this, because when I've done my research, obviously he's played 40 times last season for Southampton, but I remember him coming off the bench quite a bit. So if they don't fancy him at the level, then will he be available to grab for £2 million on a loan to buy? Or, do we get him on loan and see whether that leads to anything? We'll see. So it may not be a shout, that. It may not be attainable. I've not seen his name linked with us this close season either. Although it has been linked before. And the main man, the ideal signing at left wing back, will likely come as no surprise to anybody. And he's been mentioned in other circles. He's certainly been mentioned very recently online. It is, of course, Harrison Burrows. Harrison Burrows, 22 years old, only 5'5", little Harrison, but he played 47 League One games for Peterborough last season, 6 goals, League One team of the season, is the Peterborough captain, and I think we can get him for around £3 million. And that might be conservative to some, but that's what I'm sticking with. People are asking, is it real? Is he really going for a medical at Sheffield United, like has been reported today? Don't know, is the honest answer. Do not know. Do we like him? Who doesn't like him? I think he's a great player. One thing we'll never do, and I don't know any details on whether we've bid for him, whether we've agreed terms with him. I wouldn't ever jeopardise a deal at Sheffield United by sort of spilling when it's not the right time to spill. But I don't know where we are with this transfer. I believe there's legs to it, but I don't I don't know where we are in the process, whether we just like the player or whether we're actually some way down the line. You also have to consider that there's potentially 2 lists that we've talked about. So there's a list in case we get taken over, which appears to be players of a higher caliber. And that's no disrespect to players on the other list, which is a more conservative list. Whichever list we're going for, and if Harrison Burrows is on the expensive list or Joe Worrell or whoever else, we need to be getting on with it now. It's good to know that we may well be talking to people on both lists and getting a plan in place. But if something needs to happen, either the potential new owners need to come in and commit some money to it, thinking that the sale's going to go through. And I know Darren's talked openly on Twitter about this. Or we need to go with the original list and hope that doesn't jeopardize a potential takeover, because we're going to end up losing players at this rate. We're going to lose the free transfers. If you're a Sam McCallum, and if it's true, and that's a big if, but if it's true that he's waiting on a decision on whether it's going to be the original list, which he's probably on, or the new list where Harrison Burrows comes in instead of him, how long does he keep Stoke dangling potentially? Do you know what I mean? Because Stoke will just say, right, well, we're not waiting for you anymore. We're going to go and get somebody else. We have to stop procrastinating on. And I'm not saying that's what's happening behind the scenes, but there has to be a decision made. You've also got things like existing player contracts, Egan, McBurney, Osborne. I know Adam Davis we've been talked about, but these are big hitters, McBurney and Egan particularly. Do they stay or do they go? Interesting, very interesting. So we can get into it all now. That's my list. Let me know what you think of my list, whether you think it's credible, whether you think I'm a joker, whether you think it's ridiculous. I get it, and I'll take it on the chin for all of it. And we'll get started. Where are we now? Let's have a go. Oh, I can see some people in the chat already. Oh, my goodness. Right, Scott starts us off. Howdy, Jimmy. I want all 3 in the picture. Burrows, Worrell, and McNair. I like Wood from Swansea too, but I think he'd be pricey. Do you feel the 3 could all happen? Is the Burrows medical true? Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Well, I hope I've covered all that, pal. I hope I've covered that. If not, then come back to me. Thomas says, evening, Jimmy. It was said we would have a healthy budget for this window, with or without new investment. Why have we not proceeded down this road? Get the players we want, then freeze and loans. Because we're talking about levels to the budget, I think, Thomas. If there's no takeover, there's still money to spend, but it has to go further. So you can't, it depends how ambitious you want to be, because the new owners might be saying, well, yeah, that's a good signing, but if we were here, we'd have give you an extra couple of million and we'd have got this guy. Sam McCallum, Harrison Burrows might be the prime example of that. If new investment does come, all well and good. As it stands, there doesn't seem a lot happening at any club. So as yet, we ought to be all right, so long as the process doesn't take much longer. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Where do we start? Hopefully Worrell first, mate. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Would love Worrell to come in. I think that'd be a real statement, as would Harrison Burrows. But, that's just my opinion. Worrell is a priority for me, especially with his leadership skills, says Danny Boy. I would have him as captain too. Burrows at left wing back would be a cracking signing. Egan re-signing would be good too. Yeah, can you imagine all 3 of them in defence? Be brilliant, wouldn't it? That'd give you confidence straight away. I'd push for Sessegnon on a 1-year deal, says Danny, as he's still young. Yes, he's had his injuries last season, but if we can get him fit, would offer a different dimension down the left. Osho on a free from Luton's also good. Danny, I do not question Ryan Sessegnon's talent at all. He's never, ever fit. Never fit. And we haven't got a great record of keeping players fit either, have we? So that's why I omitted Ryan Sessegnon, not because of his talent, because he can't stay fit. And I wouldn't trust us to keep him fit either. Can't see Burrows being true, says Ollie. Surely we can't afford him yet. Can't sign free agents, but can sign players for fees. Obviously, there's more to it. I know what you're saying, Ollie, and you're right to be sceptical. We don't know which way it's going to fall yet, do we? Back 3 of Worrell, Osho, and Robbo, as he's deserving of keeping his place. Wing back Bogle and Burrows, maybe Sessegnon. Have Egan and Trusty as backup. That looks solid, that back line. Jimmy, up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I would not be dropping Egan for Osho, I'll tell you that for note. All 3 in the picture would be great, says Chris. Burrows, Worrell, McNair. Would love to see Egan re-sign. Still need quite a few more, including 2 keepers up the Blades, up the Ramble. I agree, mate. I agree. Joe says it's becoming more and more worrying that we're holding off on transfers due to the takeover. All it takes is a good offer from a club who wants to get it done quick, and our target players move on. That's right, Joe. That's the risk we're running, pal. You're right. It has to be done soon. Otherwise, we'll miss out on a lot of players. The likes of Burrows and Worrell are massive. We can't be missing out on them. We won't be in for them if takeover don't happen, I don't think. And that's, again, an opinion, but I think that's what it's dependent on. Billy, evening, Jim. Hope you're well amidst the madness at the minute. Are you able to speak publicly on the 2 lists that have been discussed in the chat? Feels like it'd be helpful for the fan base. Yeah, hopefully that's clarified that, because we've talked about it before, haven't we, on the Ramble? It's been, I think it was revealed by Nixon that there's 2 regimes currently, or that's certainly the impression that a lot of us are under. And it's not like they're against each other at all. It's just like they've got 2 different plans, like a plan A and a plan B. Put them in whatever order you want. But there's 2 plans at the minute. One if we get investment and one if we don't. And it's just a case of how long do we hold before we start going with one of the plans. Come on, Jimmy, I need good news, Blades for life. Top man, Stu, hope you well, pal. Is the latest report from Danny Hall regards Burrows right, says Sheila. Understood there was a plan A and plan B with monies available. Getting concerned now. I don't know what Danny's reported, to be honest, in terms of Burrows. Any news on takeover, Jimmy Ladd? I've got mushrooms growing faster in my backyard than news coming out of Bramall Lane at the moment. Just hope new owners are better on communication with the fans and the print. I think it's something we've talked about in the Ramblers chat, because have we got a right to know? Is it bad that we know that this is potentially going on? What would the Prince say? Yeah, we're still talking about it. Yeah, we're still negotiating. If there's no news, then I understand why it's not being communicated. It's just frustrating for us that are waiting for it to go through, isn't it? This takeover is taking the mix, says Chris. Get it over the line, for God's sake. Exactly. Same, isn't it? Once we know it's a possibility, we're desperate for it to happen. And it's easy to comment from outside, I think. All right, Jimmy says, Justin, not a Prince hater, but massively concerning that Danny Hall has said transfers are on hold until takeovers decided one way or another. That's not true. That's not true. Obviously, we're choosing not to go with anything this second. We're going to have to make moves before the takeover's completed. We're going to have to do it. We will. I'm convinced of it. Jimmy, unless takeover is sorted or shelved for us to get players in, we're going to be struggling for several weeks away. Then Darren and yourself have mentioned that's 10th of August. Is it? Several don't mean 7 necessarily. And look, I don't know timescales. I just know it's not imminent. Darren will have much more information than me on that. Ryan, evening, Ryan. Okay, pal. Burrows 1 million in the group chat. Lol. Yeah, I don't know who posted that. It was to be fair, that was a screenshot from a forum, I think, that somebody, or Twitter, that somebody had said he'll be 1 million. Ridiculous. If he's 1 million, we get him tomorrow. No way that money grabbing Peterborough chairman lets him go for 1 million. Darren McAntony knows business, doesn't he? He knows how to get. What do you think about that? And what happened to the Prince saying we'll run the club like we're in charge forever? He's not, though, is he? Did he say that? I don't remember him saying that. But if that were the case, we'd be on the original list. So, and I don't know what the first bit's about, Justin, but I'm happy to answer it, mate. Cheer out. Good evening, pal. Rebuild's going well, Jimmy. On a brighter note, fixtures out next week. Yes, they're out on a week today, I think, aren't they? AKA our path to Division 1. Always chirpy, Chirac. Nice to see you, pal. Shawnee, it's definitely getting hostile about the takeover now within the fan base. I think people just need to have some patience and faith in the club and the process. It will all be good in the end. Yes, Sean. Thank you, pal. The voice of reason, one of our platinum ramblers, coming in with the goods. All right, being patient, Sean, says Matthew. But how long are we going to be patient before season starts? My guess is 10th, first game in August. Sarah's all right with signing Osho. Okay. Bogle's in the last year of his contract, therefore may be sold. Yes, he might be. It won't be sold on the current squad makeup as it is. But it could be. He could, that's not beyond the realms of possibility. Haven't the club just took the year extension on Bogle's contract? Yes, we have. We have, Sarah, that's true. Eamon says, is this takeover happening, Jimmy? Why is it taking this long to do? How long should it take for a takeover? I don't know, is the honest answer. I'm not sure how long these things should take. It's not my wheelhouse, to be honest, Eamon. I don't know, is the honest answer. He'll be out of contract the 1st of July 25. Therefore, sell now or let him go for free unless he signs a new contract in 12 months' time. Chirac says, Ollie Mack and Egan don't want to stay with us. They want out and will only stay if no better comes up. So much for CW saying he only wants players who want to be here. CW exposed. If I'd have known you were best mates with Ollie Mack and Egan, Chirac, I would have had you on a lot sooner, mate. So thank you for that insight and wisdom. Any interested reported in? Do you mean Bogle, Sarah? No, nothing at the minute. Nothing at the minute. I'm sure there's a few sniffing around, but I don't think we'd entertain selling him at the minute while we've got the squad makeup as we have. SWS repeating the same thing 3 times. Didn't think I'd say this a while ago, but I really hope we keep hold of Bogle. Yeah, I think we need to at this point, don't we? I think we need to. To be fair, says Pete, I think we'll be waiting for other teams to start the usual buying from the Euros shop window. This will have a knock-on effect for us. Yeah, I think the Euros will help us slightly, Pete. I think you're right, pal. I think that's probably about right. It'll start things moving, won't it, once players perform. John, good evening, pal. It'd be nice to actually get a feel of where we are as a club. I have deja vu feeling that it'll be the same as last season. A team assembled with a day to go. Hope I'm wrong. I hope you're wrong as well, pal. I hope you're wrong. David Vinter, realistic targets or not, we need to act quickly or we will struggle. I agree with that. Wilder must be pulling his hair out with this carry on. We'll still be there no matter what. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man, you're right, Dave. I completely agree that we need to get a wriggle on now, don't we? We need to make a decision on what list. If there are 2 lists, which we're led to believe there are, we need to decide which one we're picking from. At this rate, we'll end up with Chet Evans back. Don't say that, Chris. You'll set some people off. Find it really hard to get excited about the rebuild bids at the moment. Oh, sorry about that, Bean. The lack of noise and activity from the club is a joke. Biggest summer in years with a 2-month head start and note awful. Yeah, it's been terrible timing on it in terms of the takeover. No thanks, Chris. There you go. Not a Ched fan, in Sarah. I agree with Bean. Oh, no. Steve McDonald's not excited for talking about the rebuild. Drove past Egan's house today. No for sale sign next to his house. Must be staying, says Joe. There you go. There you go. Can you explain our club have 3 out of 5 years in the Prem, barely spend anything in the last few years and still be skint? Doesn't make sense. It's going to get toxic soon if it drags on. A lot of people are saying the same, Bean. I know we've talked about where the money may have gone. I'll still watch the Blades and Jimmy Ramble while you're on. Up the Blades. Cheers, Steve. Cheers, Steve McDonald. Appreciate it. Surely there's players on both lists we can get in. State of the squad currently is awful. How we've not brought in a director of football or sporting director to run the football side of things is bemusing. I think probably longer term that's where we're going to go. I think that's where we'll look to do. Evening, Jimmy in the chat says, Gaz, how far is the takeover down the road? And it's dragging on. We're going to be left behind at this rate. I know we've been talking about it, haven't we, Gaz? The EFL needs to hurry up with the decision of the takeover. We're almost in July. We need at least 15 players in, says Nathan. We don't know whether it's all been ratified at the EFL's end, do we? We don't know what we're waiting on. We haven't had an update, and I'm not saying we should have an update, but it's just a case of where are we? We've been down this road before, haven't we? I think Danny all loves sending our fans into meltdowns, says Scott. Don't think he ever helps the situation. Like the shout on Kipre, by the way, Jim. Good, solid call. It's some decent frees about. Have to be quick. Yeah, we do. That's another thing, isn't it? Evening, Jimmy. Why is there nothing for fans coming out of the lane where they're treating us like mushrooms and fed nothing? I don't like it. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Bean says, interesting this one. Do you honestly think we've got deals lined to trigger as soon as the takeover is finalised? I'd like to think so, but I have zero faith in the current setup with how slow we are to everything. This will split fans and people will have their own opinions on it. I genuinely believe that we've got deals lined up ready to go. And I think this is the only thing to do is to decide which budget we're going with. And that would fit with Burrows having a medical, Worrell being spoken to, everything that's been reported in the press over the last couple of days, if that's true, that fits with the club moving forward on both lists. Evening, Jimmy. If this consortium's serious, why not put some money in for transfers to build a team for this coming season? Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I think that's something we talked about previously, Neil. The only caveat to that is if they put, say, 20 million in as either a deposit or a loan pending the takeover, and then it collapses, do we have to sell Ollie Arblaster to pay him back? It's one of them, innit? All Sheffield TV says, where are you, Jimmy, mate? I am in the studio. I'm in Ramble HQ. Beautiful downtown Ramble Lane. And that's the first time I've touched the plant because I'm trying to show you where we are. But yeah, this is our studio, pal. And we love it. We love it. Any update on EFL approval? Nothing, Lewis. As I say, I'm not entirely sure. And I don't know whether the club would want us to be discussing it, even if we did know. I don't know. Darren said no chance of takeover happening by the end of the month. He's also said he rates it happening as 6 out of 10. So more likely than not. And I would agree. I don't think it's likely by the end of the month. But that don't mean we won't be signing players before the end of the month. I think we need to. We need to now. That's the difference, isn't it? Chris says, not really bothered about who we get in, but we must offload Sousa. He's a bad apple. Yeah, he came out in the press again, didn't he, Chris, saying like, I know the team didn't play well in the Premier League, but I thought I played brilliantly. It was just, wow. Wow. I want whatever this player's drinking, to be honest, because it's crazy. Crazy juice. I know we're talking defenders, but still concerned we haven't had strong links to any goalkeepers. And I know, Sam, I would expect things to change over the next couple of weeks. Well, over the next week or so, to be honest. It's got to, hasn't it? Listen, I don't know anything about whether it will or not, but it has to. It has to. We're all getting frustrated. Thought the takeover group would do what Dozy did and put a bit of money in to get things started while the takeover is finalised. And what happened to Dozy? Dozy lost 10 million quid, didn't he? So that's the example of why they wouldn't do it, I suppose. Rice says, us Blades wanting this takeover done now. Don't forget this. Forget, guys, this is 100 million plus on the line. More money than any of us could ever dream of. These things take time, but it is worrying. Yeah, I agree, pal. We haven't even been informed by the club that they're having discussions of a takeover. I know, John, but would they? Would they necessarily? I don't know. Because then there's an expectation of regular updates, and I don't know. I don't think they can do right for doing wrong sometimes, in all honesty. Let's go along with saying no news is good news, says Mr. V. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. I love that. Love that, Mr. V. Bit of positivity. Either way, says John, I'll be there next year, singing my heart out and crying on the Ramble. Me too, mate. That's what I do. That's exactly what I do, and I'll be right there with you. Not up with Shed Evans, says Susan. She'd be happy to see him back. Right, and to be honest, that's really quick, but I've caught up on everybody's comments. So let me know what you think in terms of my picks, because this was actually a defender ramble in terms of what we think. Obviously, if you want to make any further comments on the takeover, we'll be talking about that probably until it happens. So any future rambles that we're doing, we can talk about that too. I'm going to go live at 9 o'clock, we said, but I were expecting to be on here longer, so that's good. Might be a little bit earlier over on Jimmy Ramble channel, just having some England chat with the other two Mardy Blades. So if you want to join us over there, I'll see you very shortly. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. I've done this for a while. Up the Blades!